The best pattern for cold and snow New York City has seen in years is on the way in mid-January. What's causing it and why and when is it going to start? Let's get into it. Hey guys, I'm John with the New York Metro Weather. Today is Friday, December 27th, 2024, and you are looking at a map of very warm temperatures across a lot of the United States. Now listen, it's December, so it's not actually all that warm, but it's a lot warmer than normal. This map is showing you temperature departures. And so for a lot of the Northeast, even way back to the central United States and to the West Coast, as we head into this weekend, this weather pattern is really, really warm. And that has a lot of people thinking, man, are we about to go into yet another winter of warm and snowless conditions in late December and heading into January? The opposite is true this year, and I'm going to explain to you why. So we look at this weather pattern across the country, and it's very warm all the way up into Canada, just blood red all over this map, temperatures way above normal. The culprit for all of this lies in the Pacific Ocean. This is our friend, the Pacific jet stream. If you look at the far east side of this image, the right side, you'll see California, the western coast of North America. Here's Alaska up here. And notice how this jet stream is really elongated. This is Eastern Asia, and this jet extends all the way out to the west coast of the United States. This is called the Pacific Jet Extension, and essentially this jet stream is just pumping warm air into the United States over the next several days, with the jet extending from Eastern Asia all the way to the coast of California. So this very, very mild push of momentum from the Pacific is the reason for those really, really warm temperatures across the country. But if we roll this forward into the first couple days of January, that big, strong jet stream is going to pull back considerably. The jet ends up back here across the central Pacific, and if we roll forward even further to the end of the forecast, the jet is even further back here, centered over the western Pacific. And that allows for some major changes to occur. Here's where we are right now across the Pacific. These are the heights, and notice how these troughs extend all the way to the west coast, right? Watch what happens when you roll this forward. Keep your eyes here and up here. We have a ridge forming north of Alaska, and then on the west coast of the U.S., as we head into the first week of January, we have a big ridge forming here as well. So all of a sudden, that trough is over the Aleutian Islands of Alaska, and we have a huge ridge on the west coast of the U.S., going all the way up into Alaska. You might be asking yourself here in New York City, why do I care about this? I'm going to explain to you why. Let's move over to the northern hemisphere view. So here is the United States. Down here, here's New York City, Florida, and here's that west coast ridge we were just looking at on the other graphic. Look at how this ridge extends from California all the way up through British Columbia into Alaska and up to the North Pole. And look at how we have another ridge here over Greenland, the North Atlantic, and Canada. And this deep blue trough develops across the eastern United States. This is so important because the flow of air is coming straight across the North Pole down here. Follow these black lines with me. Straight across the North Pole, down through the Canada, into the Great Lakes, and into the Northeast United States. This is a cold weather pattern. And so models have really locked into this. This big warm pattern gets replaced by this cold shot as we move into the first couple days of January. And then as we move beyond that, look at the additional influx of cold that comes through as we move into the first full week of January. That's temperatures way below normal, 10 to 15 degrees colder than normal across the entire eastern United States. So we are about to shift into a much more wintry pattern across the whole country, essentially from the plains into the east. I should say the west coast will stay warm, but much of the country from the central United States, the Central Plains eastward into the Ohio Valley and into the East Coast is going to get very, very cold. So you might be wondering, we've gotten cold already this winter, but what about snow? And the answer that I have for that is that this pattern is different than the last several. I want you to notice a couple things, but first of all, look at how these deep troughs form in the eastern United States. Here comes the first one that forms here, and look north of it. Look at these areas of yellow and red here across Greenland, Hudson Bay, Canada, and north of Alaska. These things here are called high latitude blocks, and what they really do is they effectively take air that's here, typically up in the North Pole and Arctic Canada, and they dislodge it down into the United States. But they also act as roadblocks. So storms that would normally just come through the East Coast and push up away into the North Atlantic, they have to slow down. So you have to think of it like a traffic jam. This storm comes through, it forms, it tries to keep moving, it can't, it has to slow down. That causes the next system to slow down and the next system to slow down. And so you get this feedback process. So watch how this trough forms in the Northwest Atlantic and then builds back towards New England and the East Coast. Here comes the next one building back into the East Coast and the Ohio Valley. This is the money moneymaker for the eastern U.S. in terms of snow potential, because this block is slowing down the pattern and keeping the cold air locked, and this block here is forcing the cold down into the eastern U.S. So you have the cold, and you have the apparatus to hold the cold in place with a stormy weather pattern coming as well. So here's the cold coming in, and now let's look at the moisture. The models have moisture in the area by the first few days of the first full week of January, so the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And you can see that moisture storm track pushing along the East Coast, a couple of storms. It's going to be a while before we pin down exactly what's going to happen here, but this is an active looking pattern here. This is not a cold or dry weather pattern. Let's look at the European weeklies, and I'm looking at 7-day snowfall totals here, and this is impressive. Right now we have nothing going on, but as we get into that first week of January, look at the eastern U.S. here. Look at this modeled signal for 7-day snowfall. Various members of this ensemble are showing snow and very active winter weather conditions across the eastern United States through the middle part of January. Another way to look at it is this. This is a meteogram of the whole entire European weekly ensemble. So there's 100 members. Here's number 1, and we go all the way up to member number 100. And look at this stark line. We get to about the 5th, 6th of January, and after that, it's all systems go for snow potential. Every ensemble shows something slightly different, but the mean here in this light shaded blue continues to rise as we move through mid-month and all the way into late January, with a very strong indication that there will be multiple chances for snow here in New York City, with that mean getting above 15 inches of total snow as we get into the end of January and beginning of February. So a lot of these members have big snowstorms. A lot of them have a couple of little ones. Either way, it's getting active, and you can almost visually see exactly when it starts right here, right around the 5th to the 6th of January, and then building beyond that into the middle part of the month. So I can't stress this enough, guys. This winter is not going to be like the last few. We are about to get an influx of cold, very active weather conditions, and this look across the hemisphere is extremely conducive to not just cold, but winter weather and chances for snow, potentially significant snowstorms in the eastern United States, including New York City, as we move into the middle part of January. So enjoy the weekend coming up. It's going to be a rainy one in New York. Watch for some slick spots in the interior, but know that we are gung-ho here as we head into the first full week of January. Winter's really going to come on full force, and there could be chances for snow very, very soon. Stay tuned. Have a great weekend, guys.